Hi there, Susan here. I am going to play a game of Mottainai. I'm going to draw 5 cards to begin with. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 goes face down into the task area. And the way to play this is different cards. The cards have varying powers, I guess, or varying things you can do with it. So now on here, the clerk, for instance, the clerk, you take a card from your craft bench, which is down here, and you move it to your sails, so that has that power. Your potter, so here, potter, what he can do is take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. So the floor will be over here. There will be cards eventually that will end up on the floor. And what your smith can do is complete a work from your hand using materials from your hand as support. So there is a reference guide in the rule book that says with the smith you would in order to, I guess, build a stone, a final work, a stone that goes here, you would have to have in your hand, using the smith, a stone card in your hand. To build a cloth work, you would have to have a cloth card in your hand, using the smith always here. And if you a clay, you would have to have 2 clay cards in your hand using the smith. And a metal, you would have to have 2 metal cards in your hand using the smith. Now you would have to have the material though, not just the 2 metal cards, because each one has a value on it. So if you see the metal card here has a value of 3, a requirement of 3. So when the smith is used, for instance, let's talk about the cloth. It has a requirement of 2, or a cost if you want to call it. The smith, in order to build a work that is cloth, let's say with cloth, you would have to have 1 cloth card in your hand. However, it's a cost of 2, so you would have to have either 1 in your craft bench, an extra 1 in your craft bench, or 1 in your sails. So that would be 1, 2, or 1, 2. Then you, with the smith in your hand, with your smith, using the smith as your task or as a helper, you can build this work in that way. Now the other thing I wanted to say is that I don't have it in front of me, but there's also a tailor in here. There's also there's a guide here, action types. These are all actions you can take. The tailor, return any number of cards from your hand, then draw enough cards to your waiting area, and this will be the waiting area here, including both your hand and waiting as. So a total of 5 you can ever have in your hand. Okay, so this game also has phases. There's the morning phase, the noon phase, and the night phase, and you constantly go through those. You refer to these reference cards to constantly go through those phases. So maybe just playing will help. I'll help explain it a little better. It is difficult to explain the game. So beginning with return cards down to the hand, limit of 5. Okay, we're there. Draw cards from your waiting area. Okay, that's the night phase. So here, place your previous task, which in the first round you have a hidden one. You place that previous task on the floor. So that's how it opens up the floor. You get 1 on the floor. So it's a stone, a monk, I didn't talk about the monk. Now the monk's power, take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers area. These are the helpers. Okay, so let me see what I would like to start with. So place your previous task on the floor. Done. Perform in the morning effects on your works. I don't have any built yet. Choose a new task from your hand. So that's the morning phase. That's what I'm going to do. Choose a new task from my hand. And I think because the monk's power is take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers. Okay. And he's got a stone. Takes a little getting used to what everything does. Okay, take a card from the floor. Yeah, monk. Okay. And add it to your craft bench. I don't have a, oh, I do have a potter. Take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. I think I'll do that. Start with doing that. I'll take the potter. Now you move into the noon. That's my first task. I'm putting the potter in the tasks area. Now I move to the noon phase. Perform each opponent's tasks. Well, I'm just playing solo, so I don't look at the other players what their tasks are. You can use their powers as well. Perform your task. So now I'm going to perform this task by taking bonus actions for making helpers. If you played no task, prayer. So a prayer, I'll get to that as well. That's an additional ability you can do. And crafting is another one you could do instead of one of these tasks, actions. So I'm going to perform my task. So I'm going to use the potter to take a card from the floor and add it to my craft bench. So I'm adding stone to my craft bench. Okay. So it's just the word stone we want and the word potter up here. So now moving into my night phase. Perform at night effects on your works. I don't have any here. Draw all cards from your waiting area. I don't have any here. So now we're going back to the morning phase. Return cards down to the hand limit I have. Place your previous task on the floor. So now this comes onto the floor. And now it could end up being used later on if I have a monk and make it into the potter into a helper, or I could use the potter, if I have a potter, take the card from the floor and add it as a craft, so a clay over here. So those two possibilities I can do with this cards out here. So, but I don't have those, so I could do a tailor or I could do a smith. And a smith, complete a work from your hand, doesn't seem like something I can do, but I could use the metal as craft. I could do that. So I think what I'll do is start with the clerk. Take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. No, I don't want that. Take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. I could do that, but I don't know that I want to do that just yet. If I do that, I could use the smith. I'd need one more stone, one stone in hand, and then you know what? I could do that. Okay, so I'm gonna play the clerk task as a task, and so now I'm going to move to the noon phase, and I'm going to go straight to perform your task, which is take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. So I'm going to do that. So now I've got stone in my sales department there. So now, having done that, you perform at night effects. Don't have any. Draw all cards from your waiting area. Don't have any. So now I'm back to the morning phase. I take my clerk and my task and I place it on the floor. Previous task on the floor. Now choose a new task from your hand. So I could play this tailor, And again, what the tailor does, we're not looking at these. These are all effects that later are activated when they become, when you make it a work. If I were to make this card a work eventually, then that activity can get activated during the either night or morning phase or noon phase, depending what it says. So the tailor, though, however, this as a task, as an action, I can return any number of cards from my hand, then draw enough cards to my waiting area to have 5 cards total, including both your hand and waiting area. So I could discard something. I don't know that I want to do that right now. So an alternative, if I don't want to use any of these as tasks, an alternative is, in the book it tells you, I think it tells you here too. Wait, does it? No, it doesn't. Hold on. Oh, it does on the back. You know what? I should use this part. Okay. So here it says any can be replaced by a craft. So the clerk, the monk, the tailor, the potter, the smith, if I don't want to use any of these as tasks, I only have 3 as tasks, neither of them I want to use. I can replace that with either a craft, which a craft, support for craft is a little different than the smith. You have to actually have a craft in your bench in order to use the craft effect. I don't, so I can't really craft anything, but I can pray. So prayer means you pick up 1 card and you put it here, and that's your prayer. So now we move on to the next, to the noon phase. We move on to the night phase. So draw all cards from your waiting area. So I pick this up, and now it's part of my hand. Place any previous tasks. I didn't do any because I ended up taking a prayer instead. So now choose a new task. Okay, so I could use my potter, which would, now potter, take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. I could do that with the potter. Take a card from the floor and add it. I think I'll do that with the potter. I'm gonna take this potter and I'm gonna take a card from the floor and add it to the craft bench. I'm gonna take the clay and put it in here in the craft bench. And now I'm gonna skip through some of these because some are for a 2-player game. Perform your task, which I did. Now draw all cards from your waiting area. Perform any night. No. Okay, back to morning phase. Place your previous task on the floor. Choose a new task from your hand. Okay, so I'm gonna try take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers. I'd really like a monk, but I don't have that, so I'm gonna continue with this. So the smith, I could not do a task and do a craft, and I would need to have 1 stone in the craft bench. Support for craft. So in order to craft something, I have to have 1 stone. Well, sorry, 1 stone if I'm crafting a stone, 1 cloth if I'm crafting a cloth. So I don't have any clay in my hand, so I can't do that because I need 2 plus the 1. So I can't do the crafting. So smith, a smith says I would need to have 2 clay cards in hand. I don't, so that doesn't work as well. So if I put the smith down, complete a work from your hand using materials from your hand as support with the smith. Cards in my hand. Can I do a stone? No, there isn't really anything I can craft right now. I could craft the paper, because the paper you just need 1. So whatever's in your hand, I could just craft that. However, the clerk would be nice to take a card from the craft bench and okay, I think I'll do that just to get the game, keep the game going. I'm going to take this smith action and I'm going to craft this work, which is, I only need one, and that's the one, and it's from my hand, and it's a paper, which it allows me to do. Oh, none required paper, none required, you just craft it. Okay. So now I'm going to move to the night phase, draw all cards from your waiting area. There aren't any. So now I'm going to go to the morning, take your previous task, and previous task on the floor. Place your previous task on the floor. Okay. So now this would be a good time to use, now I'm going to choose a new task. I'm going to use the tailor because I'm going to return any number of cards from your hand, then draw enough cards to your waiting area. So, area to have 5 cards total. So I'm just going to grab 5 cards. So I'm going to use him to get those 5 cards that I need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh, oops. I'm not supposed to grab that yet, but perform your task. That is it. Take bonus actions for matching. Instead of choosing a new task from your hand, you may move one of your helpers. Move one of your helpers to become your new task. That's interesting. Okay, I could use that another time. Not right now. I don't have any helpers. So draw all cards from your waiting area. So I've got a hand of 5 now. And place your previous task onto the floor. There it is. So now choose a new task. Okay, so I do have a monk now, which would be good. Take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers. I would like to do and add it to your craft. So I would like to take this potter and add him in here. I could get the smith eventually too, which would be helper. So I'm going to take the potter and add him to my helper bench. Now what this does, adding a helper to my potter, adding a helper to this area gives me an extra action. So now this potter is like having a task. The action a potter can do. So what I would do is I would do my monk and I would do my potter action. So I'd have 2 actions now. And if I put another one, I'd have 3 actions and so on. So it keeps accumulating. So now I have more powers activated each round, which I can do more things. In the first round, you're kind of stuck only doing 1 action at a time. It'll accumulate as you build around. So okay, so that's good. So now the monk, so now perform your, instead of choosing a new task from your hand, I'm not doing that. Perform your task, okay, draw all cards, got it. Place this now back onto the floor, the old task, your previous task. Now choose a new task. So what I would like to do is take a card from your craft bench and move it to yourself. No, take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers. No, potter, take a card from the floor and add it to your craft. I have that now. Okay, so I like that one. Now, what I might want to do is do a potter, take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. I could do that again. Ooh, I could craft. Actually, I could use the smith. Because if I do the smith action, what happens is this. Smith says for clay, I have to have 2 clay cards in hand in order to craft a clay, which I do. So I have 2 clay in hand, so I'm 1, 2, and 3. That's the qualifier for this 3. So I've got, I can't see it down here. I've got the 1 clay down in the craft bench, plus the 2 in my hand. The smith activates that ability to craft 2 clay cards in hand. I would have to have to craft. I have to have the material clay, and now I can build the work. So which one? For smith actions, treat all players' tasks as if they were in your hand to use as support. all players. I don't have any other players with me, so that doesn't make sense. After your prayer action, you may return this. If you do, end the game. I'm not sure why I would want to do that. So I don't think it really matters which one. It's not going to matter which one. Neither is really powerful. For Smith actions, treat all players' tasks as if they were in your hand. It doesn't matter. Neither of them help me, but I'm going to build that work. So in order for these to score points later at the end of the game, I have to have these corresponding paper or clay in my sales department here. If I don't have the sales of a paper or a clay, actually not the paper, sorry, of the clay, let's say, so the clay doesn't have any supporting sales, then I wouldn't get this point. So I have to eventually move this one over so I can support it. So I will do that with a clerk if I pull a clerk card eventually. So I've got this floor going now. This is a little tight, this camera shot, but let's keep going here. So now I've built my work, draw all cards from the waiting area, there aren't any. So now this place my previous task on the floor. So now this will go down here. Move these here. So there we are, trying to get as much space on the floor as I can. Let's move these into the shot. There we go. So now the next one is choose a new task. So I could do the potter. Now the potter is, oh, I forgot to do the second task, sorry. My previous turn I could have used the potter as an additional action, which I will do. So the potter here from the previous turn, I can also activate and take a card from the floor and add it to my craft bench, which I am gonna do that. And what I'm gonna do with that is I'm going to get this this metal. I'm gonna get some metal going. Should I do metal? Yeah, why not? Okay, so I'm gonna do this metal into the craft bench. Alright, so there we are. There isn't a lot of room here, but it gives you an idea. So now back to my initial task. New round here. These cards should be bigger, but that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to choose a new task. So the task that I'm thinking of doing here, could do the potter again. This will give me a lot of cards to put out on the floor. I think I'll do the potter again. New task is the potter. And again, the potter tells me to take a card from the floor and add it to my craft bench. So I'm going to take the stone, yeah. Why not? Stone there. Now, let me think about this. I do want to eventually have a smith over here and a monk, actually, because the monk take a card from the floor and add it to your helpers. This could help me do that. That's okay. For now, I'm going to craft it. I'll make it a craft. Okay. So now I've done the one potter task. I have another one in my helpers. So I'm going to do an additional potter task, which is take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. So with that, I am going to definitely go with the, I gotta be careful. I'm gonna do the cloth. Let's take the cloth and put that there. So now, okay, so draw all cards from waiting area. So the night phase, none of these activate. They're really not relevant to what I'm doing. So now this goes back onto the floor, the previous task, and I get to do a new one. So the new one is going to be the tailor, which is going to help me draw 5 cards, new cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And with that, I am then going to move on to drawing all my cards from my area there, waiting area. Okay, so I've got 5 new cards. I've got a lot of monk cards, which are great. And so now this previous task goes to the floor now. So now I start anew in the morning, choose a new task, and I am definitely going to take the monk, take a card from the floor, and add it to your helpers. I've been waiting to do this one. So I'm going to take the clerk and move it to your sales. I do need the clerk, but I also need the smith. Smith, complete a work from your hand using materials from your hand as support. That could be very helpful. I have 1, 2, I need one more anyway, so I'm gonna do the clerk. I'm gonna add the clerk to my helper bench. So now I've done the monk action. Now I'm going to do the potter action, which says to take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. So do I want to do cloth? No. Or do I want to, excuse me, could put another metal in here. So then, that could be, I think I'll do that. Oh no, I want the smith as a helper, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the additional cloth and put that in here. Okay, so that's done. So now the clerk, so now I've got a clerk action. Take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. So now I can use his help, and by moving the clay, I'll move the clay into the sales area bench, into the sales area I should say. So now I've got a support for that clay, so for that work of clay that I have there. Okay, so that's that. So now I'm going to take the monk and put it back onto the floor in my morning phase and choose a new task. So my new task is going to be, so I don't know if you can see this very well, but I've got tons of things in my craft bench. And now I'm kind of building this, I'm going to say this engine, okay? I'm kind of building this engine on purpose. So what I'm doing here is, besides getting all these craft materials here, so I can eventually build some works, I am also getting these different powerful helpers that are able to do different powers, these helpers. So every turn I'm not just doing one task, I'm doing one plus another action plus another action. So I'm getting a lot of things done now doing it this way, adding some different powerful helpers with different abilities. So now I'm going to choose a task, and I have a clerk. Now the clerk's going to have me take a card from your craft bench and add it to your sales, and I think I do want to do that again. So I'm going to 1, 2, 1, 2. I could use a smith. If I use the smith, I can craft with the smith. I can craft stone, 1 stone card in my hand. I mean, I've got 2, it qualifies. After you complete this, either return all cards on the floor or restock the floor from the deck. After you complete this, transfer 2 materials from the floor to your craft bench. That's excellent. Okay, I'm going to use the smith, and I am going to complete a work from my hand using materials from your hand as support. So I've got a stone, and I've got a stone. I've got 2 stone basically, 1, 2, or 1, 2, and I can build this. I'll build this one, and I'm gonna put that here. Okay, and now with that I go on to the night phase, I activate these. There's really, after you complete this, transfer 2 materials from the floor to your craft bench. Well, I could do that, but I don't want to put the smith there. So I'm thinking I'm going to take one only and put it to the floor. I'm going to put this one to the floor. And these I want to keep here because I want to eventually move them into here. So this guy is going to go back. My previous task goes back to the floor, and I choose a new task. So my new task could be the clerk. Take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. I do need to do that. I'm going to take my clerk and do exactly that. I could do the monk next turn too. Okay, so from my, I think I'm going to take the metal. Now the metal is 2 metal in craft bench. I should add one more there, so I'll move the cloth over. Cloth is 1 cloth in craft bench, so I'll leave that. I'll move that one over. So now I can activate into the night phase. Any of these? There aren't any to activate really. Oh yes, after you complete this, transfer 2 materials from the floor to your craft bench. Well, definitely 2 metal in my craft bench. I do need a smith. Okay, 2 metal. I'm going to put 1 metal in my craft bench. The others I want to keep where they are. So now I got a metal in here as well. So I don't know if you can see. There we go. Okay, so now, and I've got a few, let's move this off camera, I've got a few works already built up here. Actually, I'm just going to overlap these because only this one on the top gives me a power that's useful, just so it stays in camera, but they usually just go sideways across here. So you're supposed to lay them out. Okay, so this is getting a little tricky. Keeping them all in place. Alright, there we go. So now what I want to do here is take my previous task, put it on the floor, and what I would like to do is choose a new task from your hand. If I do that, I believe I run out of cards. Wait, if I do that, wait, what happens if I do that? No, then the next task I can just pick up 1 card, pray. I think I'll just do that. So for now, what I'm going to do is, so any can be replaced by a craft or prayer. So I could replace these actions by prayers as well. So I could potentially pick up more than just 1 prayer card. I could pick up 1, 2, if any other helpers, could be 3. So the monk again is going to take a card from the floor and move it to your helpers. I do want to do that. So I'm going to put him in there and take the smith, and I want to put the smith as a helper now, so I can have an extra action, which the smith allows me, if you recall, to complete a work from my hand. Support it by revealing materials from your hand. So okay. Now I could craft also 1 stone in craft bench, 1 cloth, but I don't have any in my hand to craft. So now I'm going to move into the night phase, draw, no, I could do a few more tasks. Potter says take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. I don't want to do that right now. The clerk says take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sales. I could do that. 2 clay and craft bench, 2 clay cards in hand. I think what I want to do instead is do a prayer action instead. So the potter, 1, 2, 3 prayer actions instead. So 1, 2, 3. That'll be my actions, and now we go into the night phase. After you complete this, transfer 2 materials from the floor to your craft bench. Okay. Draw all cards from your waiting area. Now we move into the morning phase and discard previous task onto the floor. And now, okay, so I've got 3 cards. I've got a smith. Complete a work from your hand. Support it by revealing materials from your hand. Unfortunately, I only have clerks. It's not really what I would like to do. So now I could do a one cloth and craft bench. Okay, so you need actually to have something in your hand to craft. So okay, so I'm going to choose a task. I will do the smith. Complete a work from your hand. Support it, revealing materials from your hand. Well, I could do the clerk action, so I think I'll do that. I'll just play the smith. Actually, I'd love to craft the smith. I would love to craft this one. Oh, I can. Take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sails. Nice. I think I can do that. Okay. So the clerk, take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sails. Can be replaced by a craft or prayer. Okay, so I'm going to do the clerk, who says, oh boy, take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sails. Okay, so if I do 2 metal in craft bench, 2 metal in the craft, okay, I have that, and one of these. Okay, so what I'm going to do, two clay and craft. Okay, how many metal? 2 metal cards in the craft bench. I need those. Stone, one in the craft. I actually need all of these in here. Cloth, 1 cloth in the craft bench. I actually need these in order to craft anything that I really need. So this clerk is going to be move it to your sails. So I'm not going to take the task there, move it to your sails, but I am going to do a prayer in place of this task. And however, I'm going to play the potter, take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. Okay, I need 2 clay. Do I have any clay? No. Stone, how many stone do I need? Just 1, so that doesn't work. But I guess I could have more than 1. I'll take the stone. Oh no, I need a monk. Take a card from the floor. Okay, I'll take this stone and put it in here. Okay, so now that's the potter. Now the clerk says take a card from your craft bench and move it to your sails. So I'll take that stone, because I only need 1 stone in the craft bench. I'll move it into sails now again. And then I'm going to do the smith. Now the smith says you can craft 2 metal cards in hand. Well, I've got 1 metal card. Oh no, I'm going to craft instead of doing the smith. And with the crafting, I could do 2 metal in craft bench, which I have. So I'm going to craft this work, which says for a clerk action, you may sell the top card of the deck instead of a card from your craft bench. Interesting. So you never know what you're going to get if you pick it up. Okay, so now I'm done with that. So I've done all my tasks. So now I move into the night phase, pick up my card in my waiting area, And I have nothing to discard here into the floor, but I have another clerk card. And I've got a tailor. So at this point I could potentially pick up... Okay, so the game would be over if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 works. I believe it's 5, not 4. 5 works in the sales area, or 5 helpers over here. So I don't have yet, but I'm getting there. And then the scoring is another ball game. You do score, let's say you need I believe it's 5 you need here. Okay, so let's say, yeah, you need in one of the wings you need to build one more, 1/5 one. So let's say I do it just for the sake of argument. I go through the tailor and I get my 1, 2, 3, because I'm not going to discard any, so I got 3 to make up to 5. Then I go to my potter and, you know, take a card from the floor and add it to your craft bench. Let's say I do that, and I take, let's say, this, say I take paper, I don't know, let's put paper, whatever. And then let's say I go to my clerk. The clerk allows me to take a card from the craft bench and move it over, so I do that. I put my paper in there. Then I go to my smith, and my smith allows me to build something. I'm going to build this. So now I've got 5 works. So now I've accumulated my 5 works. So let me just take this away. Just collect these. Put them over to the side. So now I've got my 5 works. Okay. So now to calculate the points, I have to have a supporting sales on this end. I don't have the smith. What I should have done is, instead of this paper, moved the metal, the smith over here. Let's say, yeah, let's say I did that. Let's say, just for the sake of argument, if I did that, I would have a supporting work for this smith, which I don't. But let's say I did that. I thought that out a little better. So then this scores 3 points because I have a supporting metal, so that's 3. And then the monk, I have a supporting sails of stone, so I get 2 points for that. And the clay, 3 points. I've got supporting sails there, so I get a 3. Yeah, so I believe you have to have, so if I have 2 stone here. If I had another stone here, then I would score those 2 points. If I didn't have an extra stone in the sails, and I had 2 here, 2 stone, I would only score 1 of these because I have to have a supporting one to go with it. So that's how you would score up your points. You'd add them up as long as they have corresponding sails, and then anything in your hand is also scored as I forgot what they call it, your back ordered parts. So I would score all these 3 paper as back ordered part, and the clay, I believe it's just 1 point you get for those. Yeah, you just get 1 point, I believe. Those are back ordered parts. Back orders. The player counts cards of that type in their hand as back orders if there is a tie for a type. For each type of material, see which player has the most sails. Okay, this is when comparing. So the solo variant may have a different scoring method. And yeah, I'd have to look at go through it. Anyway, that's the idea of how it's played, and how you score. If you're playing against somebody, obviously the higher score is going to win. In this case, you're just trying to get the highest score at the end of playing the solo game. See if you can achieve a really high score and get the requirements needed when you build the works. And that's the challenge in that. Hope you enjoyed watching this. I definitely enjoy this game. Not great at it, but still learning and working through it. I think this is my third playthrough of this game since I've gotten it just recently, and I really do enjoy it. I like the thinkiness of it. You got to really plan things out. It's an enjoyable little card game. You can bring it anywhere. I mean, it's tiny. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye bye.